people then, of course, started not getting these cars for passion value. They were buying them from investment value. I'm a big believer that you have classic cars in your store and it's for everyone else to enjoy. They let you out of junctions and they wave at you and everyone's happier.
Yes.
We're just generally all happy being in classic cars.
Yes.
Cars are too fast, they're too boring, they're too capable nowadays, the modern stuff. And classic cars, you then got something they're just a bugger to drive. But yes, the Italians love speed, they love cars. And when you think, I'm going to get pulled over here, they're going to have a go, they just go, no, go. Go faster. I just want to look at your car.
Faster.
Go faster. You're going too slow. That's basically it.
Hello and welcome to The Luxury Dispatch, the podcast that reveals the refined and the rare, people, items and stories that make up the luxury industry. I'm Tom Chamberlin, and today we shall be stepping into a world where engineering becomes art and where the act of collecting is as much about preservation as it is about passion. It is, of course, the world of classic cars. From coach-built bodies to racing pedigrees, from the scent of old leather to the quiet authority of a perfectly tuned engine, vintage motoring occupies a singular place in luxury culture. These machines are not simply objects of beauty, but moving pieces of history, each with its own story to tell. To guide us through that world, naturally, I've asked a male model to join us. It's David Gandy, racer, devoted restorer, and a man whose appreciation for craftsmanship extends well beyond the wardrobe. David, welcome.
Thank you, sir.
My apologies for kicking off so flippantly. But to some extent, I rather like that people, obviously you are known for being, I think it's sort of the most successful male model of all time. However, it's always fascinating to people that behind the kind of public profile, people have passions that extend beyond what they're known for. And, you and I have waxed lyrical for many, many years now about fashion, tailoring, the things we sort of both enjoy. But classic cars is very much where your heart lies. Where did that begin?
To say, Tom, really. I mean, I just remember loving cars as soon as I, can remember. My mum and dad bought me a little pedal go-kart and I was off. That was it. I would just go down the driveway, handbrake, turn it and come back, and that was just what I'd do for hours. We used to sit over, I remember a friend across the road, his father had an old Datsun in his garage. We used to sit in there, just playing tunes and pretending to drive. So no love of cars in the immediate family whatsoever. It's especially my father. I always say I could turn up in a yellow Lamborghini and he could see me turn up, and then I could leaving a 80s Vauxhall Nova and it's yellow. He wouldn't notice the difference. He would still remind me to mind the grassy banks because I crashed into one once, and he still reminds me. It was about 20 years ago, but he still likes to remind me as I go visit home.
It's always a very good piece of advice.
It is always,
mind the grassy banks.
Yeah. And that's where the love came from. My reading was the history of cars, the stories of cars. Every poster on the wall would be a Ferrari F40 or a Porsche 959 or XJ220. There was always a magazine, always a car magazine in my hand, and then traveling. So yeah, it just it wasn't forced on me. I didn't have any mentors or anyone that got in from a family point of view. It's in your blood, and that is. And you say it's a passion. It's not, and it's a quite an expensive passion, to be honest.
Well, we'll dig into that at some point as we ask you about the cars that you've both restored and raced. But in terms of sort of accessing that world, was it through the cars themselves as a sort of an object of beauty? Was it the technical side of things for you? Was it the people who raced them? What aspects of it sort of entranced you the most?
I definitely think probably it was the racing side first of all. These were days of the WRC rally when I was sort of growing up as well.
Is that when
that was
people, like hundreds of people would go along a sort of thin path and the cars?
I mean, that was the 80s.
Zoom through the middle.
Yeah, I mean that was Group B, which of course got banned, and it was just absolute madness.
That's
but
nuts.
Of course,
that when you see videos, I mean, genuinely young kids today when they're growing up, they would not believe that ever existed.
No, I mean, there's stories of that. Then when one guy, I've forgotten who one of the racers was, they stopped, at the checkpoint, and there was a hand in his grill. Because they would try and touch the car, and clearly they did, and it ripped this guy's arm off, and they had to pull the arm out the grill, and they carried on.
Frankly, that's his fault, not the drivers.
Well, no, I wouldn't quite blame him, but honestly, and then the history of everything, the Mille Miglia. some fascinating stories. The Mille Miglia is a 1,000-mile race around Italy,
which you've done
in the 50s. Which I've done. It's not a race. We do race, but it's now a timed rally. But it was 1,000 miles around Italian, partly open roads, but still kind of with general public driving in it. And Jaguar and Ferrari and everyone would participate in it. And there's facts in that Sir Sterling Moss completed that in 10 hours. So he was averaging, so he's 1,000 miles, 10 hours. He averaged 100 miles an hour in a 1950s car. It was a Mercedes Silver Arrow on open roads, on open roads, but not closed roads, racing in the Mille Miglia.
Sort of whizzing past sort of civilians in their Fiats.
Yeah, it could be. And I mean, it's just phenomenal. We do that race and we do it in 4 days. You can do it in 3 days. You did it in 10 hours. So it's like they have a different mindset. Once you get into the history and some really interesting stories, and then of course you had F1 with Ayrton Senna, and WRC when you had Colin McRae, Richard Burns. So it was definitely the racing side that I was fascinated by.
Yeah.
And then sort of getting into the cars after that. But it was just the love and the freedom of driving. I've always said, like, I still don't care. I think people think I care a lot about what car I'm driving, whether that's a classic or something very new and flash. It doesn't matter.
Like a Volvo.
I love Volvo.
Yes, I love Volvo.
I absolutely adore Volvo. I've bought a couple of them. But I could just drive that because I'm just happy driving.
I'm with you, actually. I do all the driving at home because I just love it.
Yeah.
What was your first car? Not that you care.
I had a 1988 Ford Fiesta Gear. I'm not still trying to work out what the gear part actually meant.
Okay.
Aftermarket electric windows, 4-speed, 4 presets. It was a bit of a hand-me-down from one of my dad's companies. I think it was a pool car, and then it was like the death trap was given to me. But that guy absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. And he said to me when the quite funny thing my dad still reminds me is that, so of course as a 17, 18-year-old, a bit older, I said, Dad, can we get a new car? He used to take us on some fantastic holidays all over the world. And one I said, Dad, these trips to the Amazon and Alaska must be very expensive. And he said, yeah, they are, David, but I like to take you in places and you'll thank me basically one day. I said, well, maybe I couldn't come on holiday, but I could have a new car. And he said, well, you can make a choice. You can not come on holiday, but you're not getting a car. So what do you want to do? I said, I'd like to come on holiday. I went, good decision. Get out of my office. And, that was the end of the discussion.
So your dad would take you on holiday to like Greenland?
To be kind of like the frustrated David Attenborough. I
have to explore that a little bit. That's interesting because I guess the intrepidness would be passed down. So how wild did it get?
The travel?
Yeah,
there were 11 hours on longboats through the Amazon rainforest, 14 flights in 13 days, catching piranha, eating piranha, nearly getting hit by a rhino at one stage because I didn't listen to the guide of not going back to a hut in Botswana. Yeah, Alaska, brown bears, walking around woods, having to clap so that they can hear you and run away instead of attacking you. It was immense.
And I guess traveling and cars have such a great history together.
Love a road trip.
Yeah, and we had Simon de Burton on in the last season to talk about the history of off-roaders, and he was talking about the Peking to Paris rally and stuff, and then also there was the Dorian Pass with John Blanchard Snell who took a bunch of Land Rovers through it, and so cars, adventure, seeing the world. It's such a great connection. I wonder whether perhaps your upbringing in adventure, in that sense, meant that ultimately your love of cars and hitting the road and getting out and about was sort of inevitable.
Yeah, I think the road trips. I mean, we were sort of dumped as children. I mean, we used to take my back in the day. We used to go around Europe with my grandparents and us in the back of the car, dumped into the back of the car, and just driving around Europe with my mum's mixed tapes. That's my happy place. That's and why I don't know, because traveling with my children is hellish. Absolutely hell. But I mean, if I'm going on a road trip or there's a car event or a race or something else, I'm still to this day got the buzz of I know I won't be able to sleep that night, or if there's a car being delivered for me to review, or a new car for I've done a deal with a car company. I won't sleep that night. I'm literally that excited.
That excited.
They could Jaguar could be replacing exactly. I work with Jaguar or Land Rover. They could replace a car with exactly the same car.
Yes,
but I'll still be excited because it's a different color.
You took me out in one once.
I took out in the Project 8.
There's a very particular clip where you went a bit faster.
Yes,
and I wasn't expecting it.
It's a strange noise that came out of you. I remember that well.
Yeah,
God, I love that
there
car.
was a look. That was quite something.
Yeah.
Shat my pants. I shat myself.
And so, would you say that you're more a track guy or a long distance?
I'm a rally
Grand
guy.
Tourer.
I'm not a great track day driver. I did a few rally courses. I got my racing license, and definitely sort of rally and road is better for me. Track is, I find it quite boring. And actually, people who are very good on track, they can literally very methodical. Increase this by 2 seconds deep, and that's basically what F1 drivers are doing. They're pushing it to the limit. Yeah. Where the rallying is trying to control. You are out of control the whole time. You are on the limit, and that's what I used to love about WRC rally, doing 120, 130 miles. But there's a 500-foot cliff that way, a crowd of people, and a rock face over here, and. That just baffled me. They talk about the danger of F1. I was just like, have you seen these guys? They're doing 140 miles an hour, and there is not, they cannot make an inch this way, and it makes a difference. You're going to end up over a cliff, and it was fascinating. That mindset is quite hard until I raced in the Mille, and then I got the red mist of understanding because we were. My first race, I raced with Yasmin Le Bon. So if you have a racing partner,
of course,
Yasmin,
you choose Yasmin Le Bon.
She's a great driver.
Yeah.
I always said where was your life? The happier I said on the Mille, I was going through the Tuscan countryside in a classic Jaguar, racing all the Italians, and Yasmin Le Bon is hand feeding me Haribo into my mouth to kind of keep me going.
Good for morale.
Yeah, that was okay. I was like, yeah. So if I die at this moment, I'll die a very happy man.
You did it with Jodie Kidd as well, didn't you?
We do it. Jodie's a whole different ballgame. I mean, she's unhinged.
Is she?
I'm unhinged, but she's then that next level. So we were very good together, because actually it's quite scary when you're in a car. When you're a very good driver, it's a wonderful experience, but it's not fun for people when you are going sort of that fast. But we're both slightly unhinged when we're racing. Okay, so we're both kind of fine.
Great.
So and that the Mille, you're in the weird thing is, you're on a 400 is that the 400 cars, you're overtaking them. They're open. They're not all closed roads. And of course, we're driving in right-hand drive cars, so we're on the other side of the road. So you can't see, so you have to completely trust your co-driver, and you have to go. And and you look out and you go, yeah, go. And on that instant, if you don't go, and then if you pause and you go, no, don't go now,
you're going to hit someone.
You hear something going on. It's and there's a lot of accidents.
So they can't nod off.
No, I mean you just have to be absolutely trusting it. And we crashed. Yasmin was we were in the XK, and she was driving wet road coming out of Rome. She was overtaking a couple of cars, and a couple of cars were trying to overtake us, which sounds absolutely ridiculous.
It does sound.
And then they touched us because they had to pull in very quickly to get in from oncoming traffic, hit us, which put us into a bit of a spin, and we went down a grassy bank. And my head is the roll bar.
Back to the grassy banks.
Back to the grassy banks, and having much luck. Avoiding a house and a number of people sitting, watching, spectating, because the Italians will come out and watch. The front side of the car was crashed up. We were on our side. I was just trying to get my head so if we did turn over, because we're not wearing helmets or anything. It's ludicrous when you actually think about this now. And then I just sort of saw we were number one in the Jaguar team at the point, and then Andy Wallace overtook us. And I didn't care about, I had no sympathy, by the way, for us crashing or Yasmin. I was literally, let's just pack up and get on, because now we're second. Like just getting in drive.
Yeah, you got to get back in.
And I just saw that you have no, it's called like self-harm or self-deprecation. You're literally just going, I don't care, I just want to win this race and I'll do it at any cost. So I got to slightly see what races experience at that time.
And when you do things like the Mille Miglia, is there a sort of, do people go because there's a big sort of social aspect to it as well? Because you do have your stops and you take 4 days rather than being like Stirling Moss and it's just like a one-day thing. I'm assuming afterwards everyone's quite sort of pally and not sort of wanting to.
They are. I mean, you make your the rivalries. We were Jaguar. Mercedes did not like us whatsoever. They would try and put their support vans in between us so we couldn't get to timing spots on time or delay us and stuff. So it was sort of the English versus the Germans. So I was hunting down gull wings, as I used to say. Actually, there was one where we came in and there was 356s, Porsches, and then there was the gull wings. We've been racing for hours. And the point is, at the checkpoint, you don't win. You basically just have to, you get there first, you have to wait longer. Because you can't go until your timing's up. That's kind of not the point. And there was traffic going into this small town, heading towards up into Brezhnev, and there was a very wide pavement. I was like, I think I'll use the pavement. So I went up onto the pavement, overtook the Germans, and then carried on. So we were in the lead.
Do you get legal leeway in these situations?
The Italians like me, which is quite.
But that's good.
Dolce.
Why do they? Yes.
I got away with a few things. But yes, the Italians love speed. They love cars. They are I would say, the most passionate car people in the world. And when you think, I'm going to get pulled over here, they're going to have a go, they just go, no, go. Go faster. I just want to look at your car. Go faster. You're going too slow. That's basically it. We did it twice. Fantastic. The best memories. The first year the second year they'd made it 4 days. The original was 3 days. And I knew about the history of it, but I didn't quite understand the intensity of it. And it was peeing down for 2 ways. And you have a map book. There's no sat nav. You've got 2 timers. And you've got a guidebook like that says 0.5 kilometers, turn right.
So people get lost.
Get lost all the time because you have to kind of go back in yourself and then try and find your mileage on where you are. But when you are driving for, it could be 12, 14 hours a day. You can have a breakdown. It's you're getting to hotels just exhausted, and then you're up at sometimes 5, 6 in the morning to get back into the car after having a lovely Italian dinner and a few glasses of coffee.
Yeah,
it was pretty old school.
I imagine at that speed it sort of deals with the hangover quite quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about sort of mindsets and things like that. I'm interested in the collector psychology.
Mm-hmm.
And firstly, what makes a classic car to you?
I mean, that's a good question, where you are determining classic cars. I mean, if you went on the government website, what class is a classic car? I think it's like pre-1986 is classed as a classic car now. Which, by the way, in my head, I don't think that's that long ago.
You're a classic car then.
But yeah, it's that is a long time ago now. So
I was born in 1987, so I don't know.
Oh, well, fuck you.
For me, it's...
And I was born in 1980, so yeah. But I still think...
You look great, though.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know if anyone's ever told you. You're a good-looking guy.
But I still think in my head. So now you can determine that 80s or some 90s cars, Peugeot 205s, they're calling them, they are coming into the classic status.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the classic status is taking something that I deem as there's not many left of those vehicles. The rarity adds to that, of course. But in my head, the classic status is still probably the 50s, 60s cars. Not even 70s me. It's kind of the 50s,
so that meets
60s
your
era.
personal interest.
That's when I think cars were the most beautiful.
Fine. And for the collector, and in terms of the collector's mindset, what do you think people look for when they want to collect or make a collection of cars?
Well, I think this has changed. So when I started probably... I go to about 15 years ago, sort of get into classic cars. I was getting a bit bored of like the modern day stuff coming in, so I was getting into the classics a bit more.
Mm.
And you kind of felt the community then, and before, probably, a bit before that, was they bought cars because they loved that car. They were buying it from the passion of they just loved the car, or the history behind it, the look of the car, the rarity of it. And of course you had, passions of people passionate about Jaguars, people passionate about Ferraris, and they had mixtures, but you kind of read by like a Jag guy or a Mercedes guy or a Ferrari guy, Aston guy. But then, of course, the price of these cars started going through the roof. You're talking Ferraris at 20, 30 million.
Yeah.
Some Jags were the same, some Astons, but nothing near what the classic sort of Ferraris were doing. And then people then, of course, started not getting these cars for passion value. They were buying them from investment value. So, of course, then you could buy 10 of a classic Ferrari. If you own 10 of them, you can pretty much say what the price is going to be. So you make sure one sold for 10 million, then the rest of your thing are going to be sold by 10 million. And they weren't being driven. I'm a big believer that you have classic cars you can restore, and it's for everyone else to enjoy. Whether that is you driving it itself, whether that is you taking it to a Hampton Court or a concourse, it's for other people to enjoy. That's why we've got them on the road. But it wasn't. They were investment pieces. And of course, then you see these vast collections being built of these cars that are never really going to be seen. So I think it changed.
So you think that the creation of classic cars as a sort of asset class has diminished it as a market because it's private hands away from the kind of passionate
to me it
community.
does. And if I'm judging Star Deluxe with Cartier at Goodwood, and you just hear the different stories, and instantly when a car has been brought on a trailer, dropped off in the thing, and it's immaculate, or completely, you can think of things that are completely original, but it's not driven. It's brought from a collection by the team that's there. It could be the best car there. Straight away, personally, for me, off the list, you're not going to win. The people I check in the back of the car and there's a Waitrose bag with some lunching, and people have driven 4 hours that morning to bring their classic
Labrador
car.
hair.
I'm like, tell me the story, and they've always got the best stories, and they're still driving the car.
Do you think that is what makes Goodwood so special? Because it transports people who will never see these cars driven in any other circumstance. There's other things like, the London to Brighton, from outside the RAC, where, those are like the first ever cars and stuff. They're extraordinary. But seeing rallying, racing, uphill sort of achievements with these old cars is a really special thing that the Dukes managed to
more than ever.
curate.
I think we've got, of course, you've got the two forms like Goodwood, but still like we have Revival.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think people are appreciating. I can watch that race, and I know there are two Ferrari, 250 GTOs where they're racing an E-Type or an XKSS, an inch from each other, proper racing. And I go in that corner, that's 60 million quid worth of cars. And I'm like, and then once it's gone off, and you're like, good God, like this is...
Yeah, that is the most amazing thing about Goodwood Revival, is it's the most expensive race, or set of races in the world. And I interviewed Tom Christensen, the chap I think he's won Le Mans 9 times and podiumed 14. Which is a lot.
Insane. Yeah.
And he was racing. So, you are also seeing the kind of some of the greats.
Yeah, like Derek Barry's still there.
It's no joke.
No, it's no joke. And that's where, and that's, again, you just see that, the red mist.
It's not like Toad and Toad Hall, kind of like, beep, beep.
It's really, really not.
It's slightly sort of more hardcore.
Jaguar once, they had me driving an XKSS. Now, the XKSS, there were 16 cars made. Because actually after... they made these 16 cars, the factory burnt down. So then you had these 16 cars. And they were D-types, and then they said, we can make a bit of money, mate, from these, and people will buy them as kind of racing road cars. Steve McQueen bought them.
Right. Is that the one that he would race on Mulholland Drive in?
Yeah, and he had his, the rumour is had his backlights turned off, so the police, if they did try and get him, they couldn't see where it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he sold it, and then he regretted selling it, and he had to run and bought it back. And they're a race car. This thing is only happy doing 100 miles an hour. The accelerator is like a little bit of metal. It's either on or off. And Jaguar gave me, they say, "Oh, David, you've driven it a few times. You better drive that because other people who were doing what we were doing at the event, they won't be able to drive it." But when we got it at Millbrook testing ground, I remember the guy who delivered it to me said, "Just FYI, Mr. Game, the owner of this has just said no to 16 million for it." So basically, he was saying, "Please try not to bin the car once you're going around it." So first of all, I was like, God, I was just like,
I'm going to go at 5 miles an hour.
Hootling around, and then you get a bit faster and you get a bit faster. And I thought, actually, when am I ever going to get a chance to drive the car ever again? And the car heats up, and you're double declutching, and then you don't even have to change your gear with the clutch because you've got that the change just right. And then Jaguar had to send the car out because I just switched off they were going, "David, can you come in?" I just switched it off. I said, "Well, you can come and get me." And that's what they had to do.
It's a mega unhelpful thing to have pointed out, that the fact that I think that putting that in your head was probably unhelpful, but I'm glad you managed to overcome it. What I like about Goodwood is the racetrack that it's on. It used to be RAF West Hampnet, and the reason the track is there because what RAF fields in the war used to have was planes all spread out. They weren't all kind of packed together like they are today. Because if there was a raid and it was bombed, they were spread out. So often lots of planes would survive and one would be hit. And so when the ding 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 alarm went off and the pilots had to scramble, they would jump in cars and be driven all around track to get to all their planes. And all the pilots there realized this was a really fun track and could make it for a really good racetrack. So they would meet after the war and race around it. And it was then the Duke of Richmond who initially was like, "Excuse me, get off my land," in that accent.
Yeah.
And he saw him, he sort of liked the spirit of it, and so began hosting races there. And that's where the kind of origins come from. And I really love that. Just when you thought you were listening to the only podcast in the world without a NordVPN advertisement, think again. In fairness, there's a reason you hear about them everywhere. Many of you listening to the Luxury Dispatcher fairly well travelled, regularly moving between London, New York, Geneva, Dubai, or indeed the less corporate, more recuperative destinations like St. Bart's, Aspen, and the south of France. Wherever you go, there is one modern ritual we all perform within about 30 seconds of sitting down somewhere, connecting to the Wi-Fi. They say that home is where the Wi-Fi connects automatically. I say it is where it connects safely. The problem is that hotel Wi-Fi or airport lounges are not the most secure environments in the world. NordVPN encrypts your internet connections, so things like bank details, passwords, and your online identity stay private. Think of it as putting a rather elegant opera cloak over your digital life while you're traveling. It's also surprisingly useful for much more critical situations, like once when I wanted to catch the rugby while traveling. Perhaps for you it is the cricket or baseball. NordVPN let me switch my virtual location so I could access my streaming services as if I was back home. And one account works across up to 10 devices, which means your phone, laptop, tablet, and everything else can all be protected at once, whether you're working from a Mayfair office, a New York hotel room, or the Wi-Fi network of a slightly optimistic airport lounge. To get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/dispatch. Our link will also give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan, and there's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the podcast episode description box. You mentioned restoration. You have restored classic cars. Tell me about the process.
I haven't personally restored classic cars.
You own cars that have been restored. You've undertaken restoration.
I have.
I by no means am trying to sell you as a sort of engineer. There are better people than you.
I could be.
You got enough on your hands. It was the Jaguar, wasn't it? It's the most amazing looking car.
Well, I started off. I always wanted I loved Mercedes Gullwing. I stupidly was offered one many years ago. I can still remember the price. He was asking $295,000 for it, and I didn't have that anywhere near that sort of money. That car today would probably be about 1.2, 1.3. And I knew it was stupid at the time, so actually, people should invest in this, and that's why I was kind of realizing I had a bit of a attack for realizing cars that will be increasing in value. Because I could see the rarity and I knew the history of them. I couldn't afford a Gullwing, so I got on the same line as the Gullwing in the 60s was the 190 SL, beautiful car. So I had that fully restored, nut and bolt, had the luggage set, the luggage set was a 6-piece luggage set, specially made out of the same leather that you chose as an option. So I had that made.
Can I just ask about the decision-making process of something like that? Because people would argue that original parts make for a better classic car. And at the same time, others might argue that restoring it to its former glory, using as close to the same materials as would have been used initially, and all these sorts of things, is as noble a pursuit as kind of leaving it. Because at some point, patina is just basically rust, right? So, there is a point at which you can't keep it up. I mean, the same with restoring watches.
You will if your car is being judged. If something is totally original, untouched, unrestored, you will gain points and respect for that car not being touched. So you could have a car that has had a £2 million rebuild, as you said, parts being sourced from all around the world, re-chromed, or people building machines to mill the metal in the same way it was done.
Yeah,
Jaguar Classics do that very well, and it's better. Or exactly as it would have come from that showroom.
Aston Martin Classic did. I
drove
the DB5, and that was quite something. I don't fit in that car.
No,
I'm not.
I don't fit in classic cars.
No,
it's totally ridiculous. I have to drive a Jaguar E-Type on my feet like this.
But it was jolly fun. But the only problem was they're quite near Milton Keynes.
Yeah,
and a lot of people. Well, they won't care, but they won't know. The Milton Keynes is basically one roundabout after another. And so when you're really big for a car like that, having to stop every 50 meters to go around another roundabout and change gears and sort of, I mean, it was a really interesting drive. But the effort they went into to sort of remake this, I mean, and also it had all the gadgets in there.
And the Bond ones.
It had all the Bond gadgets. So it had the spraying oil. It had the changing license plate. It had the machine guns that I'm afraid just made a noise.
Did it have the ejector seat flip?
Yes, it did. Yes. And so they totally remade it. It was an expensive thing to want to buy.
There they are.
But really fun. But as you say, because it was clearly a new car, there's a sort of, I think it's not a moral issue. I think there's a spiritual aspect that goes missing.
So I the way I did the 19 TSL is the tangible, what I thought historical parts of what people have used to steer, to change gear, I didn't change. Everything else was restored. The steering wheel, the gear knob, the patina on it was not changed for me.
Yeah.
That in my head made it okay.
And there was a non-negotiable to sort of when you were speaking to the restorers.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, though, you have to, I mean, Parry Janner is who restored that car for me at Lux Classics. He judges concourse. Now, he will tell you, he'll I remember him telling me stories about how this car, they all thought his car should have won. And then he awarded it to another car and they were distraught. And I said, why? And they said, that nut bolt that you used for, what is that for the windscreen wiper? He said, that's not the original bolt. That leather, that's not German, that's Connolly's. It's best leather, it's not German leather. I mean, he literally would know the part. So when he was restoring my car, I had to stop him in the end and say, Parry, this is a lovely process. And I love the process. And I love the process more than actually driving the cars. The process of choosing everything and the colors and finding parts and original parts, I adore. But we had to cut it short at one point and say, okay, we're not going concourse level here. Yeah, we bought a car for the Mille Miglia, and I based it on an XK120 lightweight. They sourced a car from California, and we built it as a lightweight would have been built. It's not original, because there were XK120s. An XK120 stands for 120 miles an hour. It's the fastest car in the world at its time. Yeah. In Jaguar creating all these things with the C-Type, they were the inventors of disc brakes. And the XK120 is the car I raced in. It's one of the Jags I can fit in. Yep. And I still, my head's popping about the windscreen.
It's convertible, luckily. So, It's a sort of.
Well, yeah, you can get the hard top, but I couldn't have a hard top. I wouldn't have fitted in it.
I've seen it,
and it doesn't have it. It's not a cabriolet. It has no top. It's got we just put it.
Yeah, I've seen the car at the Savile Row concourse.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's very pretty.
Yeah.
The belt over the bonnet.
Yeah, you've got the. I mean, you originally wouldn't have had that. That's a racing piece. So the bonnet, if the latch goes, it doesn't fly up. You can't do it with the belt.
Yeah.
Quick release, petrol gauge, and then of course with a bit of modern tweaking, the original engine, original chassis, disc brakes were the same. We had a little bit of adjustable suspension on there, adjustable pedals because I don't fit it very well. So I adapted very much to my car, but.
Where do you keep it, and what's the PIN code for getting into the garage?
It's currently a very expensive plaything for my children at the moment. It's terrible. So people can't believe. I mean, I've got the cars in the garage, and not of them. They're usually off at events or doing something. But the Jag is there at the moment. That's got to go off to Classics next week, and so my kids will go, "Come and see my daddy's car," and they jump in the car and they're pretending to drive. And now people cannot believe I let the kids do this. And now I always think you can go two ways. I can be the father that's shouting at my kids to get out their car and don't stand up. Or I can be the one where they have the great memories. Go, do you remember sitting in Daddy's car? Yeah. With our friends, and they're sitting on the side. And we've got great pictures of it, and they've scraped it and they've scratched it and everything else. I don't care. Yeah. Like it's for them to enjoy. And when you take that car out, it's for everyone to enjoy. I go out and go and say to Steph, right, I'm just got to run the Jag, and it's a bugger to start because it's a racing car. So I've got to change all the spark plugs before I do it, fill the oil up in the carburetors, make sure that the battery is completely 100% charged and still on the charger to get it going. And I go, right, well, now I've got to take it for a drive, and I'll be about half an hour and fill up with petrol. Hour and a half later, Steph's like, where are you? I'm like, I'm still talking to people. Because I stop at the petrol station and someone will come and talk to me about it. I'll stop at a traffic light, they'll talk to me about it. I park it up, and then it's just conversations. They all want to see the car. They all want to be in the car. Now, it doesn't matter what car you have. Like what modern supercar you have, hypercar maybe. The love and the passion of still that feeling of what people, see when they see you in a classic car, because it's still such a rarity to this day. Yeah. It's a lovely thing. They let you out of junctions and they wave at you and everyone's happier. Yes. We're just generally all happy being in classic cars. Yes. Is a wonderful thing. So also I stupidly named that car Matilda after my daughter. After your daughter. So I can't ever get rid of Matilda. I mean, it's just, so that car's with me for forever.
Well, okay, so that's, I guess, another question for you to ask is, does it scratch the itch or does it make it worse and you're just always looking for the next project?
You have a rest, but it's like restoring a house. Same thing. You have enough. Good God, I spent so much money on it. It's taken up all my time. I probably need a bit of therapy afterwards.
Yeah. This is why you're here.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome.
I feel you're actually a very good therapist. Actually,
I try my best.
Yeah, and then a year goes by, and a bit like throwing a humble, I'll just have to see what's on prime location. It's like me. I'll have a quick look on Auto Trader, where I watch a program and I read about a car and I think, that'd be interesting to have. I wonder about how much they are. And you start getting into it, and then you can't stop that. After Jag, I did the 356. And I had I designed that car how I wanted the car to look, how I think it should have looked the best. So a lot of that was sort of like hand beaten panels and bumpers and lowers, and I did not stick to any rules. Even with the Jaguar, I went back into history because I don't know if you remember the car. It has the middle bit is like a lattice leather. Yep. And that was a picture I found because the international racing car, the Italian race car and German racing cars realized that if you're in a racing car, you should really have the center should be fabric, because when you're driving around, you're not slipping. The British never did this. Yep. We were just sliding around on leather, and
it's great.
That's what the British do. It's got to be leather.
God bless.
And I found where someone had clearly just latticed their leather, so you've got traction. Yeah. You're not slipping around. I found it in a picture and just said I want that. So the guy at Jaguar Classics would, whatever you lattice this leather, post it to me and go, is this okay? I'll be a bit smaller. And I send it back to him. I don't think he's spoken to me again. Yeah. And that's the detail of that car, which I love. And the 356 was very different. And then we've just done a 90s Mini. So I sat around with Ian Callum, maybe a history of Ian Callum, designer of fast Fords. The Aston Martin, as we know it, was him originating from the DB7. He went to Jaguar Land Rover. I worked with him there. The most iconic guy. He would hate me saying that. Most important designers of cars ever. He would hate me saying that. Hate talking about himself or his achievements. And then we sat around. He left Jaguar, and they started Callum Design with many things: furniture, cars, but mostly cars. And we would kept talking about what's the project we're going to do, what's the project we're going to do, and we would literally over a beer we were going, talk about our collections. We love Porsches, but people have done Porsches. Aston, I don't want to do it anyway. Aston, Jaguars we can't touch. There's too much kind of association with them. We're both for sort of working with them. And I was thinking, and then I said, what's the most iconic British cars? And we said the Mini. It was the Mini, the genius of the Mini.
Yep.
From where the engine was, it was designed in the 60s and 70s when petrol was so expensive. It had to be a family of four would fit in this tiny car. Now, if you see the size of an original Mini, and people go, how do you fit in it? Me and you could fit. You could sit in the front, I could sit in the back. The genius of that design. And then someone realised it was just a bloody great racing car. So they took it to Monaco and it won the, Monaco or the Monte Carlo rally.
Yeah.
Just like one of the best bit of British design. So I said to Ian, I was like, this is what we should do. And they put a case together. I said, do you reckon enough people will want these if we put a business case together for the Mini? Now, restorations and it's more of a resto mod these days. But people are starting now, when you see these cars, they're like 200.
Define resto mod.
Resto mod is taking probably a car from the maybe 70s, 80s, 90s. Singer probably won't like me to say that Singer are resto mod, but they are. And you are sort of putting modern technology into the restoration to make it. So the engineer of today going into a car of the 80s or the 90s, I would probably say that's the best idea.
Okay.
And they look phenomenal, but it's gone a little bit crazy with everyone doing them. But they are $250,000, $1 million, Singers now are over $1 million. And if you want to restore a car now, you're probably looking at a very well restored car at $250,000.
Yeah.
And so it's priced a lot of people out of actually restoring cars.
You find with you can get Land Rovers. There's a whole bunch of companies who are making Land Rovers.
The Defenders.
They just take the shells and turn them into sort of, multiple hundreds of pounds.
Yeah.
If you want them.
Yeah.
Like anywhere between 400,000 and $1 million.
Defender's a little bit different. You don't have to change Defender that much, but you could. But yeah, as you said. So a lot of this isn't attainable to a lot of people. And that's what I kind of wanted. I wanted to get back to okay, so what's the car? I'm just bored of driving. I'm bored of electric cars, bored of road. And I wanted to get back to that excitement of when I was 18, 19 and just driving a 100 brake horsepower car to its maximum, getting everything from this car. And you're still doing 50 miles an hour. But it was so much fun. Cars are too fast, they're too boring, they're too capable nowadays, the modern stuff. And classic cars, you then got saying they're just a bugger to drive.
Yeah.
Especially if they're original. As you said about driving the DB5, they don't have power steering. They're exhausting. They're lovely on a journey now and again.
The best driving experience I ever had was in a Morgan.
Yes.
Because I sort of felt the asphalt of the motorway underneath my bottom.
You're about 3 inches off it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like driving a go-kart.
Mm-hmm.
It was the best fun I've ever had in a car.
But you're getting the advantages of a classic car.
Yeah.
But Morgan is a modern car.
Yeah.
Newly made. And so we did it with Mini, and they're Caliber making them from about 75, fully restored, modern tech in it, 110 brake horsepower engine. The design has been fettled a little bit by Ian, which you wouldn't notice.
Yeah,
but it's made just the difference to this engine, to what was already a iconic design. And they have flown. They've sold so many of them, and people restored them because it was this idea that people, I think, could buy them or could restore them, then not having to spend £250,000. And I think everyone's a little bit bored of motoring, and I think they just wanted something fun. So the Mini is one of these things as well, which is, it was driven by Enzo Ferrari, apparently around his factory, He was
Cool.
driving a Mini. Steve McQueen had one. That's what mine's based on. It's bronze, like Steve McQueen's.
Cool.
Steve McQueen Estate has actually approached us. I thought I was going to get a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I was going to say, did they
kept
try to
saying
sue you because they're quite litigious?
No. They absolutely loved it.
Great.
They might be working with or Callum might be working on, hopefully on a project. But it wasn't saying that I wasn't copying his car. I was just saying, because people went to me, Mini, that's not a choice. I mean, no, Steve McQueen had one. And they go, no. I said, pretty much the coolest guy, arguably the coolest guy in the world had it. And so you got these people that were complete petrolheads driving Minis. And I love that idea. And I think that's why. Could you have done it with another car? I don't think so, because I think the history, and everyone's got a Mini story.
Yeah, Minis are
really
cool. What do you think we're making cars today that will at some point be considered a classic?
No, I think the classic status will stop. Made too many of them, of course. So if you have derivatives or models of that car, so like I would say, so if you took a 2000 Aston Martin Vantage, the V8s, they won't be a classic. The V12s, they didn't make very many. That will be a classic. But I think with that era of the classic, there's too many made.
Do you think there needs to be an analog aspect to it? That sense of going back in time with the ways it drives nowadays.
A special engine,
manual gear shift, yeah.
Not necessarily. I mean, yeah, I'd always have a manual. I think when you start looking at cars when they came with automatic gearboxes and everything else, they're going to be a classic. I'm trying to think at the top of my head here. So you've got the Lancia Delta Integrale, which was a classic, which is a rally car, one of the most important rally cars. You'll see probably Subaru Imprezas RB5, stuff like that. There'll be classics. Quite a few of those are made, whether they're still on the road or not. So you are getting certain cars, like a Peugeot 205 GTI. They are going for a lot of money at the moment. Yep. So I'm probably thinking like any time I think there was a great time when they were making cars probably about 10 years ago, 2015, a little bit later, were I think some of the best cars manufacturers will ever make, in more of an analog term, more than, because now, yes, they handle better, but it's down to computing, really. And that digital era, and they've all got hybrid systems, so they're all stupidly fast now, 0-60 in 2 seconds. It's all fun, but I don't think they're going to be classic cars. They'll be collectors' cars, but I don't think they'll be classics. And I think you've lost that. From when there was a normally aspirated V8 manual, which is exactly what I'm looking at. It was still that I had an XKRS 2014, I think, and it's the car I've never forgotten. Okay. I see one, I'm like, and I don't see them very often, which is why I want to get it, want to find one again.
Okay. We are now at the phase of the podcast where you need to put your reputation on the line in a way that I've not actually asked anybody else to yet. So you have 10 questions sent in by listeners/viewers, because this, of course, is an audio and visual podcast.
Of course.
Which is why it's such a delight to have you here today, because visually you make everything look wonderful. Favorite car ever driven?
Jaguar XKSS, the one of 16. I've driven 2 of the 16 now.
Favorite car never driven?
Never driven a Ferrari F40 or McLaren F1. Or the XJ220. And actually, Jaguar did bring it to Goodwood for me to drive. And then the heavens opened and it was a huge storm ride. So I still have not driven the XJ. And that was the car on my wall.
Bucket list car and road?
I would love to race, and it's a road. I'm not going to say specifically a road. The Pan America. There's a Pan America race, which apparently is even more intense and even more ridiculous than the Mille Miglia in South America. So I would do that, and I haven't raced my XK enough. I'd have to do it, but I'd have to do it in the XK.
Great. The question that was sent in was 3-car garage. Mm-hmm. It wasn't particularly clear whether it needs to be the cars that you currently have and therefore can talk about, or your dream 3 that you don't currently have.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you to give both.
Right. But what's in the garage at the moment? 3 in the garage?
So 3 that you have that's your obviously curated garage, and then 3 that you don't have that you would like to have?
Okay. I'm very happy with the three I have at the moment. I kind of bought them out of passion rather than monetary value or anything else. So I've got the 57X here on 20, the 64 Porsche 356, and then the Ian Callum, the Callum Mini, which I absolutely love. Dream, my goodness. XKSS, that would just be the number one car of all time. Ferrari F40, I probably would put that in the collection. And then I'd probably, see, this could be a discussion. 3-car garage can go on for hours at a dinner party. And then, what do I choose after that? Maybe something a bit silly, like a Lancer Delta Integrale Evo 2 from the 80s.
Best and worst road?
Racing in the Mille is pretty special around Italy. Just driving in Italy is incredible. The worst road I can tell you is when we were trekking for Gorilla, we had to drive about 2 days through Uganda. The most horrific, a Toyota Land Cruiser, just being battered about for 2 days. They are the worst. Apart from London roads at the moment, which, to be honest,
yeah,
pretty much are on the par.
Yeah, London roads are rubbish.
They are absolutely
Potholes
astonishingly bad.
Come on, Sadiq Khan.
Awful. I mean, the P1 highway is a beautiful road in California, down the Pacific. It's not a racing road, it's not a driving road.
PCH, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
No love for the A303.
We had this.
Stonehenge.
We had this. I went past that the other day. I'm not even going to start talking about that. I lived in Billericay when I was growing up, and I lived in Great Bursted. My friend lived in Little Bursted, and there was a 60-mile-an-hour country lane. We were both car nuts, and that's where we would go and take our cars, the bursted lanes. Funny, I was with him last night, and we still talked about the bursted lanes because he had a new car, and I went, "Have you taken it down the bursted lanes yet?" And I said, "No." But yeah, so in my memory, that's one of the best.
Super. Best Bond car?
Well, do you know the original Bond car, what it was?
I do not.
Bentley.
Yes. Sorry.
So when people talk about the Aston Martin,
Fleming,
and the DB5 and everything else, absolute crap. It was the Bentley Continental.
Correct. Sorry. Yes, that's absolutely right.
The worst ever, I'll give you the worst Bond cars, when BMW came in and made him drive a BMW Z3. I think I walked out the cinema. I'm not even kidding. Wasn't having any of it.
You know what? Usually when you talk about Bond, there's controversy around people's opinions on these things.
Yeah, I don't know if
anybody
about it.
Well, no, I was going to say, I don't think anyone's going to fight you in the comments on that one in particular. God bless you, BMW. BMW, I think it's called.
My personal favourite. I loved the Lotus Esprit, but also because it had Roger Moore. And if you see that scene where he goes, it becomes a amphibious. Is it amphibious? Water
amphibious.
Drives in. Now,
Submersive.
See, and he drives up onto the beach after being in the water. And if I'm right, I think he puts down the window and takes a fish and puts it out the window. Now, I might have just made that up, but I think that's in the film, and he does his very Roger Moore. And I loved that scene. Because that's where I kind of like, I said I was working with Lotus. I did a bit of work with them. And I said, you know how to launch your new car? I said, you bring it from a submersive. Like, you literally have AI or whatever, Roger Moore driving your new Lotus, but it's driven out and it's the new one. So it goes in as the Esprit, it comes out as a new Lotus.
Yeah.
And it goes, and that's your new Lotus.
That's
what I thought they should have done.
That's a very good idea. Yeah.
I have them now and again.
Very good. Well done. Favorite decade for cars?
I mean, probably the 50s over the 60s, 1950s.
Would it be sort of 50s American cars? Because those were...
No.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Shot down. Best electric / hybrid?
That's not a bad one. They're all average.
Very good answer. Jeremy Clarkson.
Although,
big fan
I've
of yours
grown this. What's going to be the best looking electric on the road is going to be, and I'm not saying this because I work with Jaguar, if you see the new Jaguar 001, wherever they called it, in the flesh, it's incredible. I mean, if you like Buicks and like the old cars like that, this car as a statement piece, an electric car, it's just, the pictures don't do it justice.
Because I went to LA and the number of those Tesla electric pickups
Oh,
that
yeah.
were around, really shocked me because I think they're dreadful.
Oh, really? I haven't seen them. I've never seen one on the road. Not in America.
They are everywhere in
In
Los
LA?
Angeles. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I was stunned. Worst car ever driven.
The most disappointing car I've ever driven is a car called the Alfa Romeo 4C, and I wanted to love it so much, and it was a hateful car to drive, and I beautiful to look at, just hated it.
The car that you missed out on buying that you regret not buying the most.
I mean, I couldn't have done it at the time. I mentioned the Goldwing.
Yeah.
I loved the Goldwing. I knew that was an amazing price for that car and where that car values were going. That's still the one that I wake up at night, Goldwing. And what else? Lancer Delta and Degrale. They are now 120, 130. It used to be 15. I used to look at them thinking, well, maybe I should tap into that.
Yeah, that
Get
would have
one,
been
leave it in
useful.
the garage.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was stupid.
Well, I think we've all learnt a lot. And this is
Bored anyone to
obviously,
death.
it's difficult. With the idea with the luxury dispatch is that we want to create a sort of resource for people that goes granular into all sorts of worlds. And I am aware that we've barely scratched the surface. I'm aware that we could do a lot more on this. And so I think that at the very least, what we can say about this is that from an introductory point of view, this conversation will have educated a lot of people into sort of defining this particular passion, interest, area of expertise, whatever you want to call it. And a part of the luxury industry that has, through wonderful artistic engineering prowess, good taste, and all these things, has managed to be so everlasting and create such wonderful, I guess, it creates dreams for people. It creates this sense of fun, adventure, and play, and strikes so many wonderful tones in, I think, people's hearts that we couldn't leave it untapped as a subject to talk about. So thank you so much for coming in, but I might have to call you back.
Not about fashion, is it? I probably couldn't. It'd be a shorter podcast if it was about fashion.
Yes, it'd be a little.
Not my
We'll just
passion.
run everything.
I don't know what you say. I was going to have t-shirts say "Fashion pays for the passion." Basically, fashion pays for the classic cars. That's
It's a very good line.
yes.
I remain Tom Chamberlin, and this has been The Luxury Dispatch, the podcast that explores the stories, objects, and passions that shape the world of luxury. My thanks to David Gandy for sharing his love of classic cars, and for reminding us that true collecting is never only about ownership, but about stewardship and knowledge. If you've enjoyed today's conversation, please do like, subscribe, and leave a comment. We read every one. Tell us the objects you treasure, the machines you dream about, or the worlds of luxury you would like us to explore next. Thank you for listening, and happy dressing. Oh, and mind the grassy banks.